I just got back from a meeting with a financial advisor at Fidelity, and my mind is blown. My name is Joyce Mishaan. I have been a producer in TV for over 15 years. I've worked on 90 Day Fiancé as an executive producer. I've been an executive producer on Ciao House for the Food Network, a senior producer on Chopped. I've done a lot of TV, and now I primarily focus on independent films, and I work with filmmakers to help them to get their films made and, more importantly, financed. So I set up this meeting with this advisor at Fidelity because I wanted to know more about donor-advised funds and how they work. And the reason I even know about donor-advised funds is because on my first film, Lee Field's Faithful Man, we got a grant through a foundation that was administered through a donor-advised fund. I feel like this is really an untapped or under-tapped resource, especially when it comes to film financing, because this is grant money, right? This is foundation money. This is money that's a donation, and it's free money, right? It doesn't have to be recouped. And I really wanted to understand how these funds work, who is making decisions about where this money goes, and how I can meet the people who are making those decisions so that I can convince them to put some of this money towards the movies that I'm producing. And what I learned is wild. So basically, just to explain a little bit about how this works. So with a donor-advised fund, either an individual or a corporation will make a donation because they want to lower their tax liability, right? So let's say it's a corporation and they need to donate $1 million to lower their tax burden, and they don't know where to put that money. They don't know who to donate it to. And so they put it into a donor-advised fund. And that means that that year that they made that donation, where they put that money into the fund, they get their tax write-off, right? So now the fund takes that $1 million and invests it. So it sits in this investment account and appreciates year after year. And it can sit there for years. It doesn't have to be donated to a charity or to a foundation or a charitable organization the same year that the money was put into the fund. And so this money can sit for years and years and appreciate. And that $1 million can turn into $2 million, let's say, right? And it's sitting in this fund. And then the person who donated it can say, okay, I'm ready to give that to a charitable organization. Here's my recommendation. Please send it to these people or to this nonprofit. And that gets dispersed out through the fund. And because the person or the organization, the corporation that put the money into the fund in the first place already got their tax benefit from this the year that they put it in, by the time it's ready to be donated and it's appreciated, it's just pure charity, right? It's just there to be given. So this is amazing, right? This is amazing in terms of what's possible, especially if you're making an impact film where your film is connected to a cause, right? Or to impact that you're trying to make, that people who care about certain causes want their charitable dollars to go to support that cause. And so then as a producer, this is how I'm thinking, right? My job becomes to build relationships with the person or people who are making those decisions about how and when those funds get dispersed, right? And that could be the individuals that have put the money into the fund in the first place, or the corporations, right? For many corporations, it's their CFO or somebody who's working under their CFO who is managing the charitable giving of the company, and very much tied, right, to the company wanting to lower their tax burden. So there's a kind of mutual benefit there, right? They're getting to lower their tax burden, and the money is actually getting to go to a charitable cause. And there are people whose job it is to manage that and to make those decisions. So as a producer, my job is now to befriend those people, to build relationships with them, to let them know about the films that I'm making that are tied to causes that they might want to support, and to have my system set up, whether it's through fiscal sponsorship, right, or me working with a nonprofit to be able to accept charitable donations, to then be able to receive that type of donation, which goes towards the budget of my film. And the most beautiful thing about this is, because it's grant money, it's donation money, it's actually not recoupable. It doesn't need to be made back in the same way that equity investment does. So this is another one of those examples of free money for a film, right? Meaning it does not need to be recouped, and it simply goes towards the budget of the film, but it doesn't raise the cost of the film. So then I could take my $4 million movie, and let's say I raise half of that budget, $2 million, through donor advised funds, through charitable giving, right? Using a fiscal sponsor to be able to receive those types of donations. Then my film now only has to recoup $2 million instead of $4 million. And that makes it a much more viable sale for me as a producer. So this is what I'm thinking about today. This really, like I said, totally blew my mind. Anytime I think about the business of film and film financing, I'm always thinking about how we can make it more sustainable, right? And as the acquisitions are getting smaller, as the numbers that streamers and distributors are paying for acquiring films, as that goes down, right, in this contraction that we're in the industry, this is one way that we can actually lower the recoupable budget of the film without actually having to shrink the budget, right? Without actually having to cut so many corners that I can't pay people a living wage, or I can't actually make the film to the quality that I need to. So yeah, a lot to think about. Let me know if you have questions. Send me a message, send me a DM. You can find me I'll put it down below, www.joycemishaan.com, or find me on Facebook or Instagram. I'd love to hear if you have any questions about this, or if you want to implement this for your own film.